Whatever you put on a piece of paper is your style. Whatever it is art. So it just can't be bad because the point of you making it was to make it. It exists for its own sake. You enjoy the process of creating. You enjoy getting what's in here out. If you enjoy drawing, you should draw. If you enjoy writing, you should write. No one has to see it, no one has to read it. There may be techniques and skills that you can learn and you can practice, but these institutionalized rules are not a right way of doing things. Hi friends, my name is Yemaya or Yem, and I'm a multimedia artist based out of Southern California. Today I really just wanted to rant about art, specifically how there is no bad art. This is a conversation I find myself having quite often recently with my friends, with people I've encountered in the ceramic studio, just something that I'm constantly trying to tell people whenever I hear just like even a peep of negativity about their own art and like creativity. I have some notes on my phone, which first of all, talking about art, this adorable, super cute phone chain with like this quartz at the end and 111 was made by Awakening Perspective on Instagram or Alexis Nicole. I'll link it below on Alexis Nicole on YouTube, but she's super talented and a 10 out of 10 recommend. But anyway, I have some notes on my phone because I honestly have a lot to say on the topic because I feel very passionately that there's no such thing as bad art. Before I like jump into this rant and like explain that general statement, I do want to say that one, bad music exists. What I'm going to say can apply to every medium of art, but bad music exists. I just have to clarify that. And second, bad realism exists. So that's kind of the point here is if your goal is not to draw something as a perfect replica of a reference and like perfectly realistic and like, you know, realism, if that is not your end goal in your practice, then you physically cannot make something bad when it comes to visual art. Like, bad on what scale? There is bad realism. Like, you can be really bad at drawing people and faces and stuff, but that's a skill. That's not like having like no one has a natural talent for that. That's a skill you have to develop and work on, and there's techniques and all of that. But if that is not your main goal and you are making other types of art, then you physically cannot make something bad, because bad on what scale? Like, what's good art? What's bad art, you know? Maybe you don't like it and you're not proud of it, and that's one thing, but it can't be bad because there's no scale for it to exist on unless it's music. Art is honestly just self-expression. Art is catharsis. Art is you putting a message out there visually or with words or whatever. But the whole point of art, like, art is something that people have been returning to for like since the beginning of time. Like, art has always been around, so clearly art is art for art's sake, and I think that's really important to remember, and that's why you're doing it. So art is clearly something that is made for art's sake, to tell a story, to get what's in here out, but it is not something that's supposed to be like have it like an end to itself. So when you're doing it because it brings you joy, you're doing it because you enjoy the process, you're doing it because you want to be doing it. And that's also the beauty of it all. Like, when you write, it's because you have something you want to get out. When you draw, it's because you have something. It's just how you express yourself. It's cathartic, it's release. So that being said, how can that be bad? Like, how can that be bad if you are just getting what's in your brain and in your heart out on a piece of paper in various different ways? Like, how can that be bad? When it comes to drawing, however you draw, like however you draw a line on a piece of paper, whatever, that is your art style. It's just a matter of evolving it and growing it and like expanding on it and stuff. But however you draw is your style, and trying to force yourself to like draw in another certain way isn't necessary, because it's like whatever you put on paper is what you are supposed to be making, and it's like your unique way of doing it. Your imagination is so unique, and the inner child that like has these ideas inside of you is also so unique. So it's just like no one else can make what you make, and that is a gift. But on what scale is it bad? Like, who can objectively look at something and call it bad? And if it's you looking at your own art and calling it bad, like, if you were to make something and then all of a sudden get amnesia and then look at this piece of art that was made, you would probably think that it was a good, like, you'd probably scroll past it, walk past it, whatever, and think like, ooh, I like that, like, that's cool. but the whole time you made it, like, people will look at my stuff and be like, oh, I like that, like, oh, I'm so bad, but then I look at their stuff and I'm like, I like that. So it's really just a matter of you being so harshly critical on yourself and so down on yourself that, like, it's a false reality you're creating in your head of it being bad. And things like, we're allowed to have hobbies. Like, think of capitalism and how we're made to think that we're supposed to monetize everything, and that if it's not making us money, it's a waste of time. Like, when you sit down and make things, you're sitting down to make things because you want to, not because you're thinking like, I need to make money. It doesn't have to be something for other people. It doesn't have to be for anybody but you. No one, you can have a notebook, a sketchbook that no one has any access to. You could lock it in a fucking safe if you wanted to, but the point is that you're making something. So one, if no one sees it, how can it be bad? Like, I just, to use saying something, like, the point of this rant is that people will say, I'm so bad at art, that's why I don't do it, or like, I'm so bad at XYZ, that's why I don't do it. And it's like, just because you think you might be bad in the eyes of others doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, because you don't have to exist in the eyes of others. No one has to see it. And that's the point of also sharing art, is like, it's a moment of authenticity and vulnerability, because you are putting out something that you created, that came from you, that you made for you, not for other people's, like, what they would like. So I think it's really important to share things only that come from your internal world, and not from like you trying to pull in so much from the external world that you're putting out something that isn't authentic to you. But no one has to see it. You don't have to. You can be a closet poet, you can be a closet painter. The whole point is like, don't let you thinking that you can't draw a perfectly proportional face or like body shape as like a deterrent from drawing anything ever again, you know? And when it comes to style, like, yeah, learning how to do things based on like established techniques might help you expand your style's repertoire by giving you more options as to what you can like distort and stylize and draw more comfortably. But so many people who have notoriety or like are big or whatever, like, so many people get where they're going because they thought outside the box, broke rules, created their own techniques. Like, they used their own imagination. They weren't being like, I want to be like this, insert great name here, and only paints like them, and that's it, and like that's their style. Like, they had their own style, they had their own techniques, and you can learn these techniques in school, like art school and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, that's just one way of doing things. That's an opinion that was normalized and like took hold. But at the end of the day, you can have your own opinion, make your own things. Like, a knowledge in school is not important. Like, everyone should have them give themselves the label of self-taught artists, because like, you're really just teaching yourself how you want to express your internal world, and that's really about like what matters. When I make art and I share art, I'm sharing my style and how I put things out on the paper. I'm not trying to be like, okay, what do people want to see? What's a cool art style that I can mimic to get people's attention? Like, I'm just drawing what comes out of my head. And I think that's what really gets you the best results. And like, it just can't be bad. So it's really like you needing to get out of your own head and realize that the things you make really are beautiful. Like the words you say, like, you might not think you're a good poet, but no one else might have thought to put those words together in that way, and then someone reading that would be like, wow, that's a really cool way to phrase that. Like, my flesh housing feeling tattoo is a line from a poem that I wrote, and I recently got a DM on Instagram of someone asking me if they can get it tattooed because it resonated with them so much, and I'm just like baffled by that. But then it reminds me of my own point that like, people don't think to put words together in the way you think to put words together. No one else has your brain, no one else has your imagination. It's not good to want to be like others, and by thinking that your art is bad because it's not like other people's art, like, that's your skill and that's your superpower. Trying to be like someone who already exists is already a step back, because so many people get where they're going or grow their style in such amazing ways by just doing what feels natural to them and not something that you learn from like schooling or whatever. Not all skills are necessary skills to get where you're going. Realism is not a necessary skill. Sharing art is not necessary. Like, you really just have to create for art's sake, because that is the point of art. And it's just like, you can't make a mistake because it's just a new piece, if that makes sense. Like in the ceramic studio, if you do something a little bit wrong and then you think you made an irreversible mistake, like it's still a really cool piece, and it's just a new piece now. It might not fit your vision. Like just because something fits your vision, doesn't fit your vision, doesn't mean that it's bad. Like it's just the differentiations. And the point of this rant is just we need to stop like the negative self-talk, because bad art and like calling ourselves bad artists, like it just is bad energy, you know? Like you might have a certain vision, you might be disappointed that it didn't fit the vision, or maybe you are trying to perfect a certain skill. Like those are different things, but all things are progress, and what's important is, did you enjoy making it? Did you get something out that you needed to get out? Like what's important to you and your intention should always come first. And what other people may think, one, will never be as bad as you think it is going to be, and two, also doesn't matter. So make art for you. Don't say, I can't make art, I'm a bad artist. I don't do that because I'm bad at it, because the things you do in your free time, you're not supposed to be, or you don't have to be good at them. You do it because you want to do it. And at this point, I'm just repeating myself. There's an ice cream truck outside. It's just important that when you get inspired by something, that you have an outlet, that you can take in all this external stimulation that actually means something to you, like the music that really hits hard for you, the films that really like spark something inside of you. It's important to take that inspiration and have your own creative outlet for it, whether it be with words or visuals or whatever. Like it's important to be able to put what is in here out in more ways than just like basic journaling and like brain dumping. Like it's important to process it and put it together in some way, because there's just like when I draw to music, it's like a great way to engage with the song, because it's like I'll listen to this song 30 times in a row, but it doesn't scratch the itch that drawing something based on the feelings that song gave me does. So it's just important to have creative outlets regardless of your skill level. Something I forgot is, for how I call myself a multimedia artist, like I do digital art, I like to paint, I like to do printmaking, I like to do ceramics, I really enjoy photography, I really enjoy creative writing, I really enjoy critical writing like journalism and stuff like that. I really enjoy poetry, and these are all things that I do on a, I wouldn't say regular basis, but like I cycle through, and things that I've always had an interest in and that I routinely go back to. And I'm not a pro in all of these things. I'm not a pro in any of these things. It's just that these are the mediums that I know I really enjoy working with, so that I work with all of them whenever I feel like it. And I think it's important to dabble around. Like even if you are really good at sketching and realism, like maybe pick up some paint or go get some clay or something. Like it's really fun to work with other mediums and just experiment and figure out other ways to express yourself. So like when I say I'm a multimedia artist, I really mean it. So I think it's important to really dabble around and experiment, and not just stick with what you're good at and stick with what you know, but anything that you just feel the urge to like do, you should do it. And yeah, it might be bad at first. Like printmaking is not that easy when it comes to like getting an even ink application, and so maybe your first prints are like super globby and not the best, like not the best transfer, but you did it because you enjoyed it, and the only way to go from there is like to progress. Like you're gonna get better, you're gonna learn what you did wrong. So if you feel like, oh, I want to do that, but like I'd be so bad at it, like just do it, just try it, just start it out, you know? And if you want to be good and realism is your goal, and you keep practicing and you keep working on your progress, then clearly you like what you're doing, and then there, boom, there's your right intention. Like all that matters is the intention. Don't make things because you think other people want to see them. Don't make things because you think it might be a get rich quick way to like make money, or an extra way to make money, like whatever. Like make things because it's like what you're motivated to do. And if you're motivated to do it and inspired by it, then like don't stop because of some weird standards that may exist out in the world somewhere. Like that is not why we're here. We are not here for other people's approval. We are here to just create and release. And I know in my personal art style, I just have this fucking ice cream truck. I know in my personal art style, I just have such a rejection for like what is supposed to be and like what are traditional ways of doing things, because I'm just like, who says? Like my mentality on so many things of supposed to be is just like, who says? So I say that I want my art style to be as weird as fucking possible. Like, I want to distort things even more than I already do. I have such a fascination with faces and like facial features and how everyone's face is different, and I put that into my art, but I don't actually put real faces that I'm trying to like mimic or reference in my art. Like, it's just me taking my personal obsession with like Sonder and faces and all of that and putting it into my art style. It's okay to be a child at things. Like, I still love sidewalk chalk, I still love blowing bubbles. Like, being a kid is okay. And being a kid when it comes to art, like, a kid will scribble on a piece of paper, fill in the lines nowhere near them, and just use all the randomest colors you can think of, and they think it's a masterpiece and are so proud to show it to their parents. Like, we should keep that same energy as much as we possibly can. Like, don't color inside the lines. And like, color theory, sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to figure out a color scheme, I need to work on like my knowledge around color theory, but at the same time, like, I know what colors spark what emotions and feelings for me, and I know what colors I like and what I think looks good, and like, fuck color theory, fuck any theory. Like, I want to just color this the way I want to color it. I think it's important to just take a step back and think of what fits for you and what doesn't fit for you. And for me, institutionalized things, capitalistic things really don't fit for me. And yeah, I'm saying all this and I sell my art on the side and all of that, but like, I don't want to sell my soul to capitalism more than I have to, so I am trying to monetize my hobbies. But that doesn't mean that my art is better than yours. That doesn't mean that my art is objectively good, but like, there's no scale to measure things in, and I like what I make, and that's the scale. Like, that is the scale. So having an art school education probably teaches you so much, but if you're not putting all of that into developing your own personal style, then it really doesn't matter knowing all of that. Like, use the techniques in different ways. Don't just take it and be like, I can draw a perfect person. Like, don't just take that and be like, I've reached the pinnacle of my art, unless that's, I guess, your goal. But everything requires practice, everything is a skill, and you don't have to share anything. This rant is basically just to say, please create if you feel the urge to create, and make it a completely judgment-free zone, because I promise you those judgments exist nowhere else but inside your own head. That being said, if you draw bad faces and you make bad music, work on some skill. Like, work on developing your realism. Music theory is important. Like, how to work a song is important. But that's the end of that. Just an artist ranting about why everyone should make art, because there's no bad. There's no bad. I've been so repetitive in this video. God mother damn. Thank you for watching. If you watched, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, beautiful evening, whatever. Make something.